pottery because like we already had our last class and we're down to the last hours of open studio before Christmas break. So I am just building a little cup. I don't have a complete picture of what it should look like before I'm done. Actually, it would have been cool to do something else. But anyways, if you're interested in seeing how this ends up turning out, stick around. It started out with a flat piece of clay like this that I flattened out using that slab roller over there. And it's going to become something else. So stick around if you want to see that. Um, there are ways you can add texture to clay. You can use things like a lace doily, or you can use like a textured like bread roller kind of thing. So actually, I think I'm gonna play with the texture on this a little bit, which I should have done before I actually started forming it. And right now, this is soft enough that I'm just using my fingers to smooth the clay together so that it sticks together as one piece. Now, if this clay was more dry, less malleable, then it wouldn't be so easy to do that. And it could break in the process, which is like reflective of our heart posture. If we keep tender hearts, it's easier for God to mold us, shape us, use us, make us useful, make us beautiful. But if our hearts are hard and bitter and all of that stuff that we sometimes struggle with, it's easier for us to break in the process. And the Lord wants us to keep tender hearts, which life challenges that. And I have personally been being challenged with that. You know, it's like when we go through these things that are devastating for us in life, like, are we going to keep a soft heart or are we going to allow our hearts to get hard? We have to make a decision. And we have to ask God for help because sometimes, you know, we might not completely want to be a certain way, but we might not feel the power enough to fix it. So the Lord doesn't intend for us to be independent of Him. Don't forget, you can ask for help because sometimes I've forgotten that I can ask for help, ask God to help me. And then sometimes it's a matter of making up our minds that we are not going to allow our flesh to rule, but that we're going to allow God's Spirit to rule. And that's another topic in itself. Like, are we just letting the flesh get away with what it wants to, or are we causing it to submit to God? So one thing that our pottery teacher was talking about in this class is kind of like making a, how does he call it? I don't quite remember, but you kind of cut off the outside of the bottom because it's more pleasant for the eyes. And I might not be doing it the way that he would do it. But it also, it makes it more pleasant for the eyes when you're adding the glaze on, because then it looks a little more continuous, but this is probably a little higher than what he would do. And I just like slice that part a little bit too fast. So sometimes I work too fast and I mess it up a little bit. But I also don't have much time left to like work on my pieces. So we'll see where this goes. So welcome everyone who's on joining me. Thanks for your thumbs up. I can't see who you are at the moment, but thank you for joining. If you've ever taken a pottery class, let me know. If it's something you're interested in doing, let me know. And if you've never taken pottery and you know the scriptures about the potter and the clay, tell me what that means to you. Or if you have taken pottery and you've noticed a difference in your understanding since you've taken pottery, also let me know what that means to you. I'm going to take a sponge right now and dip it in this bucket of water. And we see water in scripture too. Water is essential for life. It's essential for the life of the clay. It determines how soft the clay is. So if the clay is softer, again, it's more malleable. It has a higher water content. It's also good for smoothing out imperfections. So if you want like a really smooth piece compared to, the bumpiness of it, you can take water in a sponge and start to smooth out those imperfections. How are you?
You finishing up stuff?
Yeah.
Are you taking next session?
Huh?
Are you signed up for next session?
Not yet. So yeah, I'm doing
I
a
hope you
little.
can get in.
Yeah. What about you? Are you signed up?
I'm taking it, yeah.
Oh,
because
okay.
This session I signed up for, and Chris, I got locked out, and then Chris let me in, which was great.
Yeah.
And, I didn't really have a lot of time to do
Oh.
more.
Yeah, it goes fast. It goes really fast. Yeah.
But you've done pottery before, right?
I have,
You can tell me. You know how to do it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of experience with the wheel.
Yeah, it's fun. It
Yeah.
just takes time to get the click. It clicks when it clicks.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna do my chores, which
Okay.
is that.
Oh,
and I
okay.
Put these things in,
Okay.
fired, and I think the kiln is unloaded today.
Yeah, it was. The glaze kiln is
I
unloaded.
don't think I have much of anything in there because I haven't made anything.
Oh, okay. So that smooths it out a bit. You can't tell, but it takes out some of the imperfections from it. Now, this is cool because it's like a long, skinny spatula. And what I do is I put some water on the inside around the sides of it, and then you can dump that out, and that helps to soften the inside of the clay. So you have to, I'm gonna like press on the sides, and it's gonna make it a little bit more rounded shape. If you want a cylinder, you don't have to do this step. If you want it to look like, if you check out one of my recent shorts, I showed you a cylinder that I made. You don't have to do this step. But if you want to round it out, this is one way you can do that. But depending on how thin your clay is, you want to be careful how much pressure you put from the inside to the outside, because it can crack, which happened to another piece of mine. And then I had to repair it. So, but like I said, the softer the clay is, well, it depends. You could say it's more forgiving or not. Oh, no, you're fine. You could say it's more forgiving or not. It depends on like how much pressure you're using. So if it's softer, in your hand building, maybe you consider that more forgiving. But if it's too soft and you're on the wheel, like that's a lot of spinning power. And then like how you balance the pressure from your hands is also really important on the wheel, because it could damage it like really easily. So it really depends on what you're doing. Really depends. And if you didn't see my other short, I'll show you a couple of the pieces that I got back today that turned out a little bit better. They're not perfect, but this is one of the pieces that I did. I made this little pot on the wheel, and I thought I could make like Winnie the Pooh's little honey pot out of that. And so I think I did underglaze with this. Like there's glaze that you just dip a piece in, and then there's glaze that you paint on, and you can put it underneath another glaze. And so this, I think, is what this might be. And then it's somewhat unpredictable what color, because when you see the colors, like it depends on what clay you're using. If you're using porcelain clay, or this clay that I have is called B-Mix. So that determines like how bright or light or dark, or how the clay mixes itself. And then it's yellow inside. So that depends. So you can't always fully predict like what it's going to come out looking like. But on the back, I put Psalm 34:8, which is a reference to the scripture that says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good." because I decided to go with more like biblical themes with these pieces. This is another one that I made. On this one, I put the fruit of the Spirit. So you have, well, can't even really see that. It says, think on these things right here. It says true, honest, pure, lovely, good report, just. And then the scripture reference here, Philippians 4:8. And then it's just like a rosy pink on the inside. But this one, I kind of played with layering colors of glaze. And then this I painted on with underglaze, the flower. That's that one. And you can't glaze the bottom because then it could get stuck to the kiln, which would be a really bad thing. So we put this wax on before we put the glaze, and then it goes into the kiln. So those are two of the pieces that I got back today that are done. And if you can see, this is starting to get a little bit of a belly now because I've pressed out the sides of it. So this, I don't know, might be like a 1/4 of an inch thick or so. Maybe something like that. So there's not a whole lot of room that you could stretch it out without bursting through the sides of it. But I'm not pressing all the way up to the top. I'm stopping right in here somewhere. You can see it's starting to take on a little more round shape, getting that little belly that I'm going for. And then if I kind of squeeze it in here a little bit, I can see if I can narrow the neck of it. But that's a little tricky. Okay, so now that I have a little more shape to it, I think this side doesn't have as much of a belly, so let me stretch it a little more. I'm gonna go get a texture rolling pin so I can put some texture on it. But before I do that, I'm gonna smooth it out some more. So where's my little sponge with water? Smooth it out some more again. If you have major imperfections in a piece, then even when it goes through firing and glazing, you still might see some of that. So if there's something you really don't like, it's better to take care of it when the clay is more malleable. Okay, wipe the inside of here a little bit. And now I'm gonna make this lip flare over. So I'm gonna put my finger here as a border. And I'm gonna rub the edge of it down with the wet sponge. It's not super wet, it's damp. And you can see it's creating a little lip around the outside. Like that. And then I'm just gonna smooth the edge of it
You're doing
around.
a tutorial?
A little live video.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'll try not to interrupt, but I have to clean up.
Oh, you're fine. You're good. Yeah. So I don't always know how these are gonna turn out. I just kind of play with it and then something comes out of it. Some people already have an idea. Do you think you have an idea of what you are gonna do before you go into it, or does it kind of
No, I do
Yeah.
have an idea, but it doesn't always.
pan out? Yeah.
Especially on the wheel, because like all of a sudden I'll be sitting there and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's not what I'm doing.
But you're good on the wheel.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I just feel like I have to be Chris is teaching me to be a little more free.
Oh,
because I'm
okay.
too uptight.
Oh, I think that's probably it though. Like first you have to get the technique down and then you have to learn where the wiggle room is for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then to do, and he and I were just talking today about doing things in production and how it takes a lot of discipline, and even with the discipline, you don't always, you kind of have to make overage. Like you have to throw, if you want 20 things that look alike, you have to throw 30,
wow.
35, and then
Wow.
the most related things. you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Doing it by hand.
It definitely is, it's a process. Oh, this seems empty.
So
I don't know what to do about these empties.
I think I'm gonna add some texture to the outside of this. And then I'm thinking about playing with some little leaf shapes, maybe making them come up the jar. It's just, like I said, as you go, you can kind of see what you want to do with it. Because this, what I was folding this over kind of remind me of like a flower. Maybe more of one of those like jungle flowers. So you just play with it. Let me grab a textured rolling pin. Gonna go with this one. And I'm just gonna gently roll it across because I didn't do this to the slab. Well, that wasn't the most successful, but I tried. Never mind.
You have live viewers?
Yeah, well, there were some. Sometimes they go in and out. Now it's not right now, but yeah. But it'll still be posted so people can go back and
Yeah.
look.
That's nice that you do that.
Thank you. Okay, so that didn't do what I wanted it to. That's okay. It's okay. Plan B. So I got some shape to that cylinder. Now, I think I'm gonna make some leaves. So it's just some scraps of clay that I cut out. I don't like to throw my scraps away. I like to repurpose them because clay costs money and why waste it? So I'm gonna smush this together. It's still pretty soft. And I'm not gonna worry about doing the slab roller for this because it's just a little piece. And time is of the essence. So just like Play-Doh, smooth it out. I'm just gonna flatten it right here. Little cookie shape. And then I'm gonna use this now since it didn't work on my base. Let's try it on this clay. Back and forth a little bit. I'm also putting pressure to stretch it out. So that's what it came out to be like. Now, I'm gonna take some of this and use this needle tool and get some of this dried up clay off of it so it has a little more precision. And I'm just gonna cut some shapes like leaves here. So let me see if I can back up a little bit. However many you can fit. I think I can fit 5. 4 and 5. have little leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now they're still a little bit thicker than I intended them to be, but that's okay. Maybe I just got another idea of how I can do this. So some people would slip and score here. I think I'm gonna take a shortcut, which isn't always good to take shortcuts in pottery because sometimes they can be bad in pottery. But I just got a different idea. So I was thinking about making the leaves come up, but now I think I'm gonna make it. I'm just gonna wet this so it's a little more sticky. I'm gonna shape them around each other. So I don't want to mess up the texture. So just have to be mindful of how much pressure you're putting, but you also want to put enough pressure that it sticks. There's 2 of those leaves. Third one. Put some water on it. And I'm putting a hand in the finger in the inside to give some counter pressure so I can put a little more pressure. I think here's 3. Should I go 2 more at the bottom or leave it at 3? Like 4, 5, or leave it at 3. 4 and 5 are a little bit different size. Maybe I will. I think I will do 4 and 5. So let me just 4 and 5. So here's the ball in the middle. Just pinch off a little bitty piece of clay. And roll that. Make a little ball. And it's right there in the middle. If you want to give it some texture, you can just make sure your needle tool is clean on the end and poke some little holes in it. Want more of a flowery texture. So this is definitely not what I saw before I started. Some things you just start and play with them and see where it goes. If you want, you can add a handle or not. That didn't take too much time, and I think I'll leave it alone because I don't want to keep bothering it because it's a little bit sensitive because the walls of this are kind of thin, so I don't want to bother it too much. But I'm going to set this on my shelf to dry. And there's another vessel, functional vessel. You can use it in the kitchen or you can use it for flowers. Your choice. Jewelry. So thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it. Pottery sometime if you get a chance.